You're listening to the Plane Talking UK podcast, the UK-based podcast written by a passenger for anyone. And here are your hosts, Carl Stebbings and Matt Smith.
Well, hello and welcome to episode number 122 of the Plane Talking UK podcast. I'm Carl Stebbings, and joining me back in the kitchen studio this week, we're not on location anymore, we're not at an air show, is Matt Smith.
It's all a bit dull, really.
I know.
Yeah. I mean, last weekend was just so incredible, especially. I have to confess, and I'm sorry for the sort of military purists out there, but I have to confess I did really enjoy Farnborough much more than I did.
know.
If nothing else, because like Captain Al, I'm a fan of catering, and the catering at Farnborough, without question, was far superior to the catering at Riyadh. As we said, I think I had the nicest fish and chips I've had in years.
It was, yeah. Captain Al treated me and Matt to fish and chips, which was rather nice.
Absolutely.
And we had such a great weekend. It was awesome. The live show, the meet up, the live show we done on Saturday with the APG crew, and obviously Marcus from the Omega Tau podcast was there, and Micah and Brian Coleman from the Airplane Geeks were there.
Oh yeah.
Pip was there from Plane Safety podcast.
Yeah.
You know, it was a star-studded lineup.
It was brilliant. It was brilliant.
It's what
I was literally living my childhood dream, actually doing that. Sat there.
I know.
It was like a big panel show, and I'm pressing all of myself and Nev was. Nev was just brilliant, wasn't he? I mean, he was a real star, and I know we thanked him big time last week, but thanks again.
We
Nev,
shouldn't miss out as well, Matt, the fact that we had ice creams at 9:10 on Saturday
I've
morning.
never felt so ill in my life. It's just so much sugar, honestly.
Anyone for a 99 with a flake?
Indeed, at stupid o'clock. Yeah.
I know, it was good.
There we are. All part of the
But
fun.
we've had a really good last couple of weekends away,
Yep.
and it's also been really good to meet up with some of the listeners as well.
Yes, but don't panic though, ladies and gentlemen. All is not lost, because this morning we do have a very special guest.
We do have a very special guest joining us on the show live here, and she's actually in the UK at the moment.
Very exciting.
But from her accent, you might be able to tell that she's kind of from across the pond as such.
Right.
So,
okay.
Who is our guest, man?
Well, this morning we have on the show a wonderful lady by the name of Cathy Mexted, and she's a freelance journalist. She's a writer, photographer, a private pilot. There we are. That's Carlos's ears pricked up immediately. A reporter for the legendary plane Crazy Down Under, and her work has been the RM Williams Outback Mag Australian pilot, and something of which Carlos is writing I can't read, which is great. But she's also done lots of community radio, which we all have. That's why we all sit here trying to do our own thing.
I know.
Please welcome the lovely Cathy Mexted. Good morning, Cathy.
Good morning, guys. How are you going?
Yeah, really good.
Thanks for coming
me
on.
in the UK.
No, thank you for coming here. So now you're actually in a very lovely part of the world.
Look at that.
Look at the view behind.
I know. It's very well stage managed, isn't it?
Absolutely.
It's actually a screen. I'm actually in Bristol.
It's a green screen.
It's a big green screen behind you. Absolutely, no expense spared on this show. But it's as I say, it's a lovely part of the world. So it has to beg the question: what on earth are you doing in our part of the world?
Well, those Australians that know me know I'm married to a Qantas pilot, and he is on leave without pay, flying for a Chinese outfit, and he doesn't get home much, so they've given him a UK base for 2 months, and so the girls and I have come over to spend some time with him.
Oh, fantastic.
To be married,
In a lovely part of the country.
Yeah, what is this marriage thing? Yeah, absolutely. You spend time with your partner, don't be silly. So we often have this running joke here, because Carlos's wife reckons that I spend more time with him than she does.
I've spent more time with Matt in the last 2 weeks than I have with my wife.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a slightly awkward conversation. She seems to be okay with it, but we'll see what happens.
So listeners of the Plane Crazy Down Under podcast with Stephen Grant will have probably heard Cathy on there quite a few times. Cathy,
I know I have.
Cathy does a lot of bits and pieces for those guys. One of the notable episodes, if you get a chance to listen to, was really great with Cathy, was episode 66 of PCDU, where you can catch up where they actually had. I think it was your first appearance on Plane Crazy, wasn't it, Cathy? 66.
Yes, you can hear the nervous giggle all the way through it. I couldn't quite believe what was happening. I wasn't quite sure what was happening. I was at home in our office out on the farm, 45 minutes northwest of Melbourne, and the guys were at their home way out east of Melbourne, and it just was very strange talking to them from home.
Yeah.
And I haven't actually done a lot of community radio. I think Steve might have got a bit carried away with his show notes. So I've done a bit of it. I've been in there, been interested and been interviewed a few times and had a go at, the isn't that what you are?
Scratching,
Carlos?
mixing. Yes, that's what he does. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, we've all done our fair bit of DJing, I think, but no, I love it. It's all part of the fun. So, we just have a little housekeeping to do. It is now currently 10:10 in the morning here. It's Saturday morning here in the UK, and it's the 23rd of July, 2016. Saying this is episode number 122.
Are we going to kick off the show then?
Yeah, I think we should.
Yeah, let's go. Yeah. So we're going to start the show then, as we do each week, with our rundown of the weekly news from around the world and the UK. So if you're ready, Matt.
Yeah.
And if you're ready, Kathy.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Let's go. So kicking off this week's first news story then on the... what's this one? The Guardian website, this one.
How very
and a bit of sad news. It was something that came up in the news feed yesterday. And the headline, India begins search for military aircraft missing with 29 personnel on board. So a massive rescue operation has been launched after an Indian Air Force plane vanished over the Bay of Bengal shortly after takeoff. The aircraft itself, which has disappeared with 29 persons on board, was on a surveillance mission at the time. And there's been 5 surveillance aircraft and 13 Navy Coast Guard ships which have been searching the seas since Friday for the aircraft, which vanished actually shortly after takeoff from the southern city of Chennai. The aircraft was on its way to Port Blair, the capital of the remote Andaman and Nicobar Islands. The Russian-built Antonov AN-32 military transport plane was carrying service personnel and 6 crew members as it undertook a routine courier service to the Indian Islands. Last contact was made at around 15 minutes after takeoff from Tambaram Air Force Station on the outskirts of Chennai, an IAF spokesman said. AN-32s are the IAF's workhorse aircraft and are capable of flying for up to 4 hours without refuelling.
Wow.
An IAF source said that radar data from the missing aircraft showed it making a sharp left turn before rapidly losing altitude. The IAF, which relies heavily on Russian-made equipment, has about 100 AN-32s in its fleet. It has a slightly poor safety record. In one of the worst disasters involving an AN-32 in India, 20 people on board died and 3 civilians were burned to death when a plane crashed near Delhi airport in 1999. So a bit of sad news there to start. I mean, hopefully these guys have managed to ditch or, to get down, hopefully, and kind of escape
when did
the
they
aircraft.
publish this story?
This was published on Friday,
Right.
22nd of July.
Okay, so it was
So
yesterday,
the
as far as
search,
we're
the
concerned,
search is ongoing.
Okay.
I haven't heard any new reports
Yeah, I was just
from
wondering
that
if there's
yet.
been any updates.
But obviously, there's a lot of search and rescue kind of stuff been deployed to try and find this.
But I mean, the
aircraft.
Antonov is quite a popular sort of like
Russian military plane.
airplane.
Yeah,
but
there's-
not just with with Russian military though, is it? I mean,
they have passenger variants of this as well. There are
absolutely.
There are
And of course, there is
passenger
the
variants
famous Antonov that's absolutely
of this. The
monstrous.
224,
absolutely.
the big one, yeah.
Oh well, good luck with that. Let's
Hope they find some survivors from that.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
moving on, we've got our usual second story,
Oh, no.
which is specially for Matt.
Yeah, you see now, the trouble is, okay, it's all right. We met someone at the meetup that makes me very nervous about reading any of these stories out.
Actually,
Anyway.
Kathy, I'm guessing you've heard of Ryanair.
Yes, I have.
There we go.
I don't think there's a person in the world that hasn't heard of him. But anyway, this is on newstalk.com, which is 106 to 108 FM, so it's obviously a radio station somewhere. It must be a businessy something or other. Whereabouts is that based? I'll have to look that up. Anyway, enough. Anyway, it's business and tech is the category that it's in, as I say, newstalk.com, and the headline is Bogus Ryanair. So bogus. Ryanair rejects claims over the number of complaints it gets. Oh dear. Low fares airline Ryanair has hit out at the findings of EU claim, which placed it in the runners-up spot on its list of most complained about airlines. The flight compensation company found that EasyJet had the most delays and cancellations so far in 2016. The company stated that it was processing 5,641 claims against it this year, with Ryanair's related claims coming in at 4,781. EU claims Adrenaline Nordhavn said they've not been... Sorry, that's terrible. They're not being provided with information nor with rerouting at the earliest opportunity, and that's causing frustration and the large amount of complaints that we're getting. However, Ryanair has rejected the figures as bogus and attacked EU claim as ambulance chasers. Oh dear. In a statement, Ryan said, they're always so very PC, aren't they? I mean, you can always rely on Ryanair to deal with customer service in the best possible way, a bit like Tiger Air, I believe. But anyway, we do not believe any statements made by ambulance chasers like EU claim, who charge excessive fees for the non-existent service they claim to provide, and those internal and whose the internal data is totally unsubstantiated. Given that Ryanair carried over 55 million customers in the first half of 2016, even these bogus figures, Ryanair received just over 500 claims from this company, which is an average of one for every 110,000 passengers carried. Actually, if you look at that average,
I know.
I mean, yeah. I mean, by the law of averages, if you're carrying the most people, by definition, you're probably going to end up with the most complaints, aren't you?
Have you had a chance to fly with Ryanair, Kathy, since you've been here in the UK? Or?
No, I came over. My husband flew me over.
Oh, okay.
Oh, cheating, that is. Yeah. And did you complain about the service you received there?
I expect Kathy was in first class, I'd imagine.
In upper class.
Yes.
That's right, upper class.
Yeah.
I was in business class. I had to choose. It was Sophie's choice. There was 3 of us, and they had 2 business class seats. So thankfully...
No. So Mum gets economy and the kids get business.
Yeah.
No, the 12-year-old said, I'll stay here. I think she thought the idea of having 3 seats to herself was
very appealing. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. That and not being embarrassed by Mum and Dad, of course.
Dad was up front. He wasn't too embarrassed.
Oh, no, okay. Yeah. Not
the 11-year-old had already scrambled over both our heads to get to business class anyway.
Okay,
so there's no argument to be had.
No, well done.
That's something to brag about when you're back at school.
Cool, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So the next news story on the breaking travel news site, Singapore Airlines to launch first transatlantic flights from the UK. Ooh. So Singapore Airlines are going to fly non-stop between Singapore and Manchester from October the 30th this year. In addition, as part of the Northern Winter schedule, services to Adelaide, Christchurch and Kolkata will increase during peak periods, while seasonal services to Sapporo will be operated in December 2016. The non-stop Singapore-Manchester flights will be operated 5 times weekly and will continue on to Houston, which is currently served via Moscow. Flight SQ52 will depart Singapore at 2:35 in the morning and arrive in Manchester at 9 o'clock in the morning. Flight SQ52 will then depart Manchester at 10:15 in the morning and arrive in Houston at 3:30 in the afternoon. And the returning flight SQ51 will depart Houston at 20:15 and arrive in Manchester at 10:05 in the morning. Services to Christchurch will meanwhile increase to 10 times weekly from 7 times weekly between November and February next year. Services to Kolkata will increase to 4 times weekly, up from the current 3 weekly flights. And a total of 24 round trips, Sapporo flights will be operated. With the launch of the Singapore-Manchester-Houston service, existing Moscow-Houston and Munich-Manchester services will be suspended from October.
Okay.
Both Munich and Moscow will continue to be served, however, on a non-stop basis to and from Singapore. So that's handy news if you're one of our listeners up north in Manchester and want to fly to Singapore, because I've heard some good things about Singapore Airlines.
I
service is really supposed to be really
I do
good.
genuinely like Manchester Airport. Actually, it's some people have I think unkindly compared it to flying out of Luton, and it really isn't anything like that. I mean, their viewing deck, which I know we've mentioned on the show before, is absolutely incredible. It really is.
Have you had a chance, Kathy, to fly on many kind of sort of the bigger legacy airlines?
Well, the last 23 years I've only flown Qantas.
Okay.
Because that's where the deal is.
Yeah, absolutely.
But before that I did quite a bit of travelling by myself, backpacking and whatever, yeah. But no, not lately. No.
Yeah.
Qantas
Have you ever flown Qantas?
Oh yeah, we flew back from Qantas. I was speaking to Kathy actually yesterday. We flew back from Dubai back to the UK with Qantas last year on the A380. And I have to say it was great. The aircraft was half full, so we had an entire section to ourselves. But I've got to love those cookies. They have these wonderful bags of cookies on the Qantas aircraft that you can just help yourself.
Really?
Which I did.
Yeah.
Very occasionally.
A lot.
Yeah.
Half a painful. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, they're such nice cookies they were. But anyway, moving on. I'm going to get hungry now.
Yeah, absolutely.
The next story is actually something on a kind of subject we covered a while back, and at the time it was to do with EasyJet using these.
Yeah, and also I remember talking to the legendary pilot Pip about it, and I think we asked him the question, like, do you think that's something they're going to do? This is on Engadget. Engadget.com is the website, UK-based this one. And the headline is, Airbus uses drones... sorry, I've got the wrong camera there, apologies. Airbus uses drones to speed up aircraft inspections. Now, this is an interesting thought. So aircraft inspections are one of the best things that operators can do to ensure safety in flight. But ironically, the chore can be a little unsafe for inspectors themselves. To properly review an aircraft's conditions, workers often need to utilise cranes and lifts to closely examine a plane's structure and components. It's mildly risky, low and laborious process, but soon it may not be. Airbus has started testing drone inspections that may speed up the process by over an hour. Airbus demonstrated its new inspection process at Farnborough Show, where a drone equipped with an Intel RealSense camera autonomously circled an A330 while rapidly snapping photos. The images were then applied to a 3D model of the aircraft that showed inspectors allowed inspectors to get a close, detailed look at the subject. It still takes a while to inspect the digital model, but in all, it's much faster. Gathering the inspection data by hand takes about 2 hours. Using a drone takes only 10 to 15 minutes. That's really quick. The company expects to finish initial testing of the program by the end of the year and hopes to include a wider range of aircraft in the program very soon afterwards. That's excellent. I like that.
I thought you'd like that story.
Yeah,
it's kind of a really good idea though, because when these aircraft come in for their checks and stuff, they have to have all these big gantries and stuff that they can stand on and check the aircraft, inspect the aircraft, all the different components and stuff, and to have this, have a drone with a really good quality, high definition camera that they can fly up, control and record the images and take images and stuff. I think is a really good idea.
If it's a large enough, if it's a high enough definition image, then you really can zoom right into sort of what's there, to get right into the nooks and the crannies of the details, so that you can sort of think, oh, what's that little nick there? And then, and I suppose then, if there is any doubt, you look at the image and then you can actually say, you can then go and sort of manually inspect the bit that's been thrown up by the drone. So, but hey, I mean, saving an hour is saving an hour.
Yeah, it's good.
It's not going to be long, essentially, before said drone sort of pays for itself. So
exactly. So next story, moving on, the Breaking Travel News site, this one. Ooh. And this one came up in the news.
Yes.
Actually came up in the news last night as well.
It did, yeah.
On the Sky News this was on. But it's the headline, Search for Malaysian Airlines MH370 to be suspended.
Yeah.
So the hunt for the missing Malaysian Airlines MH370 is likely to be suspended if the aircraft is not found in the current search area. Officials from China, Malaysia and Australia confirmed the search will reach a hiatus if an area of the southern Indian Ocean currently under investigation reveals no further information. The plane with 239 passengers and crew disappeared in March 2014. A statement from the three nations released after a meeting in Malaysia said the likelihood of finding the aircraft is fading. With less than 10,000 square kilometres of the search area remaining, it appears the operation is coming to an end. This is against the wishes of many of the relatives of those on board the plane, who have long urged for the search to continue until the Boeing 777 is located. In the absence of new credible evidence, Malaysia, Australia and China have collectively agreed to suspend a search upon completion of the 120,000 kilometre search area. Malaysian Transport Minister Lau Tong Lai explained. Costing more than £100 million, the search is the most expensive in aviation history. While several pieces of Boeing's 777 debris have washed up along the coast of East Africa, nothing related to MH370 has been found in the area. MH70 is the only missing 777 in the world.
Now, I mean, I've got mixed feelings about this because, I mean, you just sort of... I mean, obviously, I feel massively for the family because they just... they know that there's obviously no relatives, essentially, are going to... but I guess they just want closure. But at the same time, they can't keep searching forever, can they? And they've been searching, for nearly 2 years
Nearly
now?
2 years, yeah. It's a long time. What any thoughts on this, Kathy, at all? Obviously, the search is sort of centralised from Australia as well, kind of area.
We had a friend who was killed in an ag plane accident at about the same time. The wing peeled off and he was killed. And I know his coronial inquiry was held up quite a while because all the resources were on the Malaysian on that
really?
Incident. And I think it's every family's nightmare. And as a pilot's wife, you stop and consider it maybe a bit longer.
Yeah, of course.
But at some stage, you have to throw your hands up and say, enough's enough, and hope that time will reveal the answer.
Yeah. I completely agree. As I say, I mean, I understand from the family's point of view why. I mean, obviously, you want, you part of you wants them to just carry on searching, but
it's just a huge cost. It's such a monumental cost.
I mean, one should maybe say that perhaps money shouldn't come into it when it's something like this. But as you say, I mean, it's not. I mean, they have been searching for like nearly 2 years, and you just sort of, as you say, I sort of, along the lines with Kathy, very much so. It's just like, well, you have to sort of draw the line somewhere, don't you? Really, and hope that the answers will sort of appear. Because the trouble is, but pieces are washing up on the coastline, aren't they? But I mean, that could still be hundreds of thousands of miles away from where the incident actually took place.
Yeah, York Mola, who's in the chat room, has just said, that about the real-time transmitting of flight data. There are obviously companies that are working on a system that can have a kind of satellite-based, real-time transmitting of data constantly all the time. So it will hopefully get to the stage, fingers crossed, in the future, where all aircraft will be completely covered wherever they are in the world.
Absolutely. And then if something like this then happens, at least you've got sort of flight data information to try and pinpoint exactly where it came down, or what, at least you'd have a know where it last it went off, as you see what I mean.
So moving on to the next story. This one is on the Air Transport World site, and the headline: Airbus to cut A380 production rate in 2018.
What?
So Airbus will more than half production of the A380 as the manufacturer continues to struggle to secure additional sales of its largest aircraft. The company said it will reduce monthly production in 2018 from the current 2.5 per month to 1 per month.
What?
So they're building 2.5 aircraft at the moment. So we get halfway through.
You'd want to get your order in early, wouldn't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
2.5 an Airbus.
I think, to be fair, they're sort of carrying one half over to the following. I don't.
Who gets to decide whether to build the back half or the front half first?
Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, I think
half
we're being
price.
silly. Concentrate. Focus.
Boeing Aircraft previously made a similar decision on its very large aircraft, the 747-8, and will reduce production rate from 1.3 to 0.5 aircraft per month from September. In an effort to defer concerns that Airbus may abandon the A380, Airbus CEO Fabrice Bregier said in a statement this week about his company's production cut decision that the A380 is still here to stay. We are maintaining, innovating and investing in the A380, he said. Nevertheless, the production cut will present a huge challenge to keep the program profitable on a recurring cost basis. Airbus said it reached break-even point in 2015 when it delivered 27 aircraft. I mean, the story goes on, but I mean, it says here that Emirates, obviously the largest operator of the 380, as we all know, Emirates have got a huge fleet of A380s. You know, they had those from the very beginning when they first went into commercial use, Emirates. So there is going to come a time when Emirates start to retire their older A380s, and they're going to want new ones.
The new ones, yeah.
So it's
I mean, I'm amazed that production is being cut at all, frankly, because I mean, having seen the A380 being demonstrated, Farnborough.
Yeah,
I mean, and everybody who watches and listens to the show knows that I'm not a massive aviation expert by any stretch of the imagination. I was actually walking. I got. This is so surreal saying this. I had Pasadena Brian on one side, I had Micah on the other, I had Captain Al and Pilot Pip with us as well, and we were then walking back to the media tent, and the A380 was then starting to do its routine, and it's the first time that I have ever literally stopped what I was doing and just stared at the sky watching this aeroplane do its routine.
Amazing.
I've never seen anything like it. It was genuinely stunning. And we've got a great piece that will come up in a few weeks' time, actually, with the legendary Captain Al talking us through the routine and how it was able to. I've never seen anything so massive be so agile. It looked like it was. it looked like it was hovering. Do you know what I mean? It was moving so slowly in the sky. But anyway, that's a segment for another time.
So next story, moving on.
Yes, is that my go?
It's your go.
Okay, yeah, so this is on the breaking... I'm concentrating really well, as you can tell.
Breaking Travel News.
Breaking Travel News is the website. And the headline is Passenger increases continue at London Heathrow. A total of 35.7 million passengers used Heathrow in the first 6 months of 2016, up 0.6% from the same period last year. At the same time, cargo volumes increased by 1.7%. John Holland Kay, who is the Chief Executive Officer of Heathrow, said, as the UK's biggest port, we are supporting businesses from every corner of Britain to get their products to global markets, with cargo volumes up by almost 2%. Strong financial performance was also recorded at the airport, with revenue up 1% to £1,320 million, and adjusted EBIT data up by 4.4% to 781 million. The results reflect lower costs and better value, according to the airport. Now Britain needs a positive post-Brexit plan. Oh dear, there's that word again. Brexit.
Yeah. Boring.
And only Heathrow expansion will help Britain to be one of the world's leading trading nations, connecting all of Britain to global growth, added Holland Kay. Heathrow has a new plan for expansion, allowing the Prime Minister to make the right choice in the national interest. That was
I don't
bit
know
of a PR exercise.
I just don't know how Heathrow can kind of expand anymore. You know, it's such a huge airport.
It's got two runways anyway.
Yeah, which they can't use at the same time because they're too close together. But it's such a huge airport. You know, there's so much going on there, and to have more passengers going through there year after year. Where does it stop?
To be honest, I don't think it would make any difference whether it was. I agree that we need more aviation capacity here in the UK because we are a very small island. Yeah. But I don't think we gain any more by it being at Heathrow than either Gatwick.
No,
or
they need another site,
or Southend, or even Boris Island, as they were calling it at one time when they were talking about putting an airport.
And quite rightly, Mash has put in the chat room that she says that the PM will have other things to worry about.
Do you think?
Yeah. Our new Prime Minister.
Yes. Anyway,
enough.
Yes,
we're not a political show.
Yeah,
no, we're not going to run on.
Yeah.
So the next story is on the Wales online site.
Oh, really? Yes.
And God, this is such a bizarre story, but I had to pick it. It popped up on the news feeds yesterday.
Yeah.
The headline: Airbus could put urinals or urinals.
I'm sorry,
however you want to say it, on its aircraft.
Yeah, this is a family show, by the way.
The aerospace giant Airbus is considering installing urinals to maximise space and reduce waiting times for toilets.
Right.
Urinals could be installed on Airbus planes to cut down on queues outside the toilet cubicles, and Airbus is reportedly in discussions with a French company called Zodiac. The move would not only reduce waiting times but would also maximise space on board. An Airbus source said that men's stand-up facilities
very serious
would be
here.
better use of space and reduce queues overall. Something which could offer a relief on board its giant A380 super jumbo jets, which are built to carry 800 people with maximum density. Tom Williams, Chief Operating Officer Airbus, confirmed that simpler designs were being looked at least concept included options which include urinals for men. However, he told the Daily Telegraph it's a bit sexist to have a men-only toilet.
Oh no! I mean, there is an issue though. I mean, it's like if anybody has ever been to a festival or anything like that, the one thing that always seems to be a problem is there isn't enough places for the ladies who have more of a job involved.
I have to say, when we were at Farnborough last weekend, that you're not
going to embarrass anyone, are you?
No. There were quite lengthy queues to the gents kind of toilets, but the ladies had phenomenal queues to the loo.
It was not funny, no, absolutely. I don't know whether it's sort of losing a valuable cubicle in exchange for a fast track option, if you like, is necessarily the way forward.
Any thoughts on this story, Kathy?
Oh no!
Why don't they just have men and women only aeroplanes?
Ah, brilliant!
That would be interesting.
Absolutely brilliant. Yeah, there we are. There's problem solved. Excellent. I love it. That'll go down with the police.
That would be an aircraft for the hen parties and an aircraft for the stag parties.
Oh no! I think we're getting into dangerous territory now. Well, I think we should move on.
Men and children on one plane.
Right. Okay. And then all the ladies. Yes. Yeah.
Mothers and cocktails on the other.
Oh yeah.
No, you have me at cocktails. That sounds like the way forward. Yeah. Drink.
You could be the maitre d', Matt. You could be the maitre d'. So the last little bit we've got for the news segment this week, it's not a top 10, but it's on the Manchester Evening News site, this one, and the headline: 15 airport hacks to take the stress out of going on holiday.
Ooh.
So from queues to customs, nobody loves airports, but you could make your time there this summer a little easier with this guide. So at number 15...
I'm sorry, before we move on, it's all right. It's just that Mike has just put a horrific joke in the chat room, which I am going to read out. And it says, you're in trouble.
You're in trouble
now, guys. Anyway, yes, very good. Yes, thanks, Micah.
Thanks,
you can
Micah.
always rely on Micah for not lowering the tone and such. But anyway, number 15.
So number 15, one of the top 10 or top 15 hacks to make your airport travel better is sign up at a VIP airport lounge.
Yes. Are you actually a member of a VIP lounge, Carlos?
The number one lounge, which we've used before.
That doesn't help.
It's a kind of VIP lounge at Stansted in Gatwick.
Lounge.
Yeah, they call it number one lounge. Yeah,
is that tied to any particular
airline? No, it's operated by a separate company, but they have lounges in most of the airports in the UK. Okay. But it's a good idea, I think, if you're travelling and want to have somewhere quiet to go before you fly.
Right. Okay. Yes. Are you not a fan of talking to humans?
No, hate them.
Okay.
I'd rather talk to aircraft.
I'd rather talk to aircraft. Yeah. Seriously, why is Gemma married to you again? Sorry, number 14.
Pre-order your baby milk. Travelling with a baby is stressful enough without worrying whether you have brought enough baby milk.
Right.
And if it's taking up your valuable luggage allowance.
Okay.
Boots. My wife will love this particular story.
No.
Boots has created a click and collect service, just like toiletries mentioned. You can pre-order and purchase your baby milk and other items in advance and have them delivered to your chosen airport store. Oh, the wife will be very happy about that then,
Wow.
being an employee.
Yeah. I don't think the branch that she works in is going to have too many issues with that. Number 13.
If you fear turbulence...
Yes, I do. I hate turbulence. It frightens the living bejesus out of me.
Apparently, factors that cause turbulence usually occur in the afternoon. So if you get sick easily or you're scared of turbulence, opt for a morning flight.
There we are. Well, there we are. That's anyway, number 12.
Number 12. This is rather interesting, this one. Pick the left-hand security line.
Right, okay. The only thing is that'll work until people read this story, in which case you'll need to pick
Well, it says here that more people are right-handed with the impulse to turn right. So people pick the left-hand security lanes where there are likely to be shorter queues.
What a load of nonsense.
That is rubbish, because the right-hand lane at the toilets at Farnborough for us guys was shorter than the left-hand lane. Anyway, that's just something I
You've got an unhealthy obsession with toilets today, Carlos. I'm very concerned. Anyway, yeah, whatever. Number 11.
Number 11, especially for those of you who like the AA. A team, I should say.
Alcoholics Anonymous.
The A team, BA Baraka style jewellery.
Oh, right.
When going through security, make sure you remove those big watches and jewellery, loose change and belts, and obviously all your bits of metal stuff stuck inside your pockets and everything, because these will set off the security scanners, which I do frequently.
Right.
Yeah,
okay.
I just didn't bother taking
made
anything
of
off.
metal, yes.
I know.
Number 10.
Number 10, this is something I always do when I travel through an airport, especially when you're travelling with a low-cost carrier where you don't want to buy the snacks on board.
The paninis are divine. I don't know what you're on about.
So buy snacks before you travel. So airport prices aren't going to get any cheaper, and if your kids are going to want a snack on board the aircraft, you should buy these before you get to the airport, and put them in your hand luggage.
Excellent.
So that's a good idea. Fruit and stuff like that. Put them in your bag and but not liquids though. Not liquids.
No. Less than 100 mils. Number 9.
Number 9 is pre-book your seats. Something which I have started doing just recently when we've been travelling. Pre-book your seats, and then you've got more of a chance of sitting together with your friends and family. And this service, most airlines provide at least 12 weeks before you travel. Some only offer it a few days before, 24 hours before, but quite a few airlines do offer it, the option.
They do sting you for it, though.
Yeah, you do have to pay for the privilege of pre-booking.
See, now I remember a time where if you booked tickets, they automatically put you all together. So you know, because you were allocated a seat at the time of booking, or you could choose your seat at the time of booking, and there were no additional fees. Anyway, number 8
is book express check-in or fast track passes. And this is something I've tried a few times.
Yeah, but it's all more money. More money.
But I tell you what, for the £7 we paid for the fast track security thing, it was worth every penny.
Yeah, or borrow a wheelchair. That works really well.
And we actually done this at Luton Airport in the UK here, where we paid, I think it was about £6 or £7.
Right.
And we completely missed like a queue of like 100 people who were all queuing up to go through the security.
I think Kathy's being attacked by her cat again.
Oh, is Kathy being attacked by...
No. Number 7.
Number 7, find out what time you need to be at the airport.
Right.
Sounds quite simple, but you'd be amazed at the amount of people who cut it so fine they have to beg people to let them queue jump.
Yeah, well, I don't think that's a problem for you, because you're there like 3 weeks before.
I'm a great believer in getting to the airport like 6 years before my flight.
6 years before your flight is clearly the answer. Yeah,
because I love airports.
Yeah, absolutely. Something wrong with you. Number 6. Oh, it's more. But was this done by Boots?
I did pick this story because of the wife. So pre-order toiletries from Boots. One of the typical stresses when packing for holidays is remembering what toiletries you will
So I'm going to interrupt. Nev says Luton. Oh, how jolly common.
Jolly.
Yes, how jolly common, darling.
So apparently, and I didn't know this until I asked my wife last night, but apparently Boots do a pre-order service where you can pre-order all your toiletries from their airport stores,
right? Okay,
and pick them up when you get there.
Oh, that's very civilised. Yeah. So after security.
So after security, when everything is checked, you can pre-order your toiletries and get them there. So you can go on Boots.
Or what you could do is, just buy them at the other end.
Exactly.
Where it's probably significantly cheaper than if you've used... Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, number 5.
Number 5, pre-book airport parking. Another good idea.
Do people not do that then? I mean,
I don't know.
Surely, surely everybody books their parking before they actually get to the airport. Surely
I will say shop around because the prices differ quite heavily.
Yes,
especially in the UK for parking at airports like Gatwick and Stansted and Heathrow. So always best to look around.
Micah was saying, just find out. Going back to the one you were saying earlier, find out what time you have to be there, and then be there 2 hours beforehand.
I thought that was not early enough.
It's not early enough, right? No. So 4 hours. So anyway, number 4.
Number 4, park. If you park at the airport parking, make sure you take a picture of where the area where your car is parked.
I have a very embarrassing story.
This is a good idea. This is something I do, especially when you're parking at Gatwick and Heathrow, because the car parks there, even the on-site ones, the open-air ones, are huge.
I didn't realise that at Gatwick there were 3 car parks. Hello, Kathy. Yes, I didn't actually realise that they were. Well, you see, I didn't realise there was. I genuinely didn't realise that there were 3 car parks, and I just dropped off my mum and dad. They'd gone out on the plane.
Oh no, where did we park?
And no, it was just me on my own because I dropped them off, and I literally couldn't find the car because I went to what I thought because I went to the right floor and the right and the right sort of level, if you like, and I knew it was just to the right of the gate, and I walked out onto the gate and my car wasn't there, and I was literally thinking like my car's been stolen. So I'd gone up and down. I mean, it took me 2 hours to find my car.
Oh dear!
And then I had to go and ask a man who had great fun at my expense to say, I can't find my car. Where is it? And he said, which car park was it? I said, what do you mean, which car park?
You know what you need, don't you, Matt?
Yeah, help.
You know. Do you remember years ago you used to have those little keychains and you whistled and they'd beep at you?
Okay.
You should have one of those installed on your car, but a slightly amplified version.
Yes. Okay.
So you could kind of whistle, and your car would kind of go
right.
beep beep.
Right. Okay. From 3 car parks away. Excellent. Anyway, number 3.
Number 3. This is one that always amuses me when we fly with the low cost carriers like EasyJet and Ryanair, and this is weighing your bags before you get to the airport or while you're at the airport before you check in. Something that always makes me laugh is when you get to the check-in desk and you've got someone in the check-in desk next to you who are having to pay sort of between 50 to 100 euros or pounds more because their cases are vastly overweight.
Yeah.
I mean, the cost of a pet or a hand scale is so cheap. You can buy these hand scales online.
Yeah. You've got some digital ones.
Yeah, we've got some digital ones we use every year, and they're so small. They're literally the size of a box of matches.
Do you take it away with you as
well?
And
we take it away, and there's such a handy thing to have to weigh your suitcase before you fly, because they are starting to get very quite strict, especially Ryanair.
About
when you're
weight,
flying. They'll have little scales at the check-in gate, especially when you're flying home from certain destinations, and they'll weigh your hand baggage. The hand baggage as well, especially they'll start weighing that now. They never used to bother, but they're going to start weighing hand baggage as well.
Before we move on to our penultimate 2, Jenny Parkinson, Jenny from Rome.
Good morning, Jenny.
She's not in the chat room, but she's just sent us a tweet saying, Plain Talking UK, I'm away from Wi-Fi this morning, so can't join in, but hello to you all.
Oh, hello,
lovely
in Rome,
Jenny in Rome, lovely. So number 2.
Number 2 is check your luggage allowance before you get to check in. So that's something that
surely that's something people check on their tickets, isn't it?
You should do. Yeah, I mean most long haul airlines, Emirates and Qantas and kind of like most of their limits are around about the 30 kilos for your hold luggage. Some of the hand luggage weights do differ between airlines. Some are 10, some are 15, some are 20 for hand luggage. Most are around about the 10 or 15 kilos for hand luggage. But always best to check your airline and make sure what they're going to let you take on board.
Indeed. And finally, at number 1.
So at number 1 is don't just cram everything in your hand luggage.
I'm going to pop that picture up. That is a really... I do hope that nobody's suitcase looks like that. I mean, that's just officially horrific, isn't it? If nothing else, it just looks like a load of rubbish. I don't think it's actually anything that's been packed. But yes, anyway,
yeah. So things like lighters, obviously not good to take your lighters on board. Baby milk. One of the things I see quite often at airports is mums bringing massive bottles of pre-made baby milk,
right? Okay,
and they get tipped away
because it's more than 100 ml. Yes, of course.
Medication as well. Things like medication and sharp objects. And
Nev says apparently that was Jeff's suitcase.
oh, it's Jeff's suitcase.
Oh, I'm sure Captain Jeff is far more organised than that. I can't imagine it. Can't imagine.
He's a
having-
pilot. He's
Yeah.
always going to be pristinely
Yeah, of
presented.
course, absolutely, at
Exactly.
all times. Yeah.
And also something that caught me out. I mean, oh God, I still look at myself and think you prat when I think what I done when we flew out to Malta last month was that I forgot to take my Kindle out of the my hand luggage bag. So my hand luggage suitcase went through the scanner and went down the aisle of the naughty aisle, kind of the naughty belt, where the naughty people stuff goes. And I was like, I think
You have an unusual turn of phrase
I know.
sometimes, Carlos.
And I kind of thought, why is my suitcase gone down the naughty belt?
Yes.
And then the guy says, have you got any tablet or anything in there? I was like,
dear
damn,
yes.
bugger.
Yeah.
So then they took it out and had to go through again.
Yeah.
So it had 2 trips through.
Yes.
Yeah, but that's a mistake that I made. Not going to make it again.
Yeah.
Because
Can
I
I
added.
tell you a story there? When we were living in Cairns, and Dennis was flying for Qantas, a Qantas subsidiary, and he got pulled up going through customs, and they confiscated his nail clippers.
No way.
Really?
And he said, "I'm the captain of the jet. I've got an axe right behind my seat, and if I wanted to take it down, I just push the stick forward."
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
But he said the girl was very apologetic, but she said, "Rules are rules," and hand them over.
Nail clippers.
Yeah, he came home really.
Scary.
I mean, can you do serious damage with nail clippers? I mean that's quite a serious attack, isn't it? If you're being attacked by if you're being attacked by nail clippers, I mean it's really you know.
Especially by the captain.
Well, yes, absolutely, yes. I mean, you'd like to think that for most of the flight he's locked in his little booth, away from the public. But anyway, yeah.
Jacob Darlington Brown has just popped up in the chat room. He said, "Hey, that accent seems very familiar."
Does it? Oh, right. Okay.
So that
a
was
fellow crossed the pond.
I know
yes.
that was the last news story
Yep.
in the a commercial news segment.
Okay.
We've got some military news to bring you. So
Okay.
shall we just crack on
Shall
with
we
the
bash
military?
on straight
We'll bash
on,
on straight on with the military news.
Okay.
So we're going to bring you some military news right now. So the first news story then on the military segment for this week is on the Flight Global site. And the headline, Turkey receives first CH-47F Chinook. So with Turkey having kind of a few issues right now, this is quite a surprising story to see, but this is actually this week. So Turkey has reportedly received its first Boeing CH-47F Chinook heavy lift rotorcraft following its completion in country at the port of Izmir. Ankara has 11 of the type on order from the US government for its Army Fleet Analyzer shows, plus options for 3 more. Pictures emerged earlier this year of the aircraft performing its first flight ahead of planned April delivery. However, this was delayed until the 14th of July, according to the Turkish Dogan news agency, which notes that the aircraft are being manufactured in the US and reassembled at Izmir. While the timeline surrounding the orders remains vague, it's believed that budget restrictions led to a split delivery, with the first 6 aircraft requested in 2010 for delivery in the period to the end of 2016. We've got a little picture there on which Matt can pop up on the screen there of the particular helicopter in question, the all versatile Chinook. We've seen.
I think it's the first time I've seen one in yellow.
Yeah, it's kind of a sandy kind of colour, that one. But no, with that's quite surprising with Turkey's troubles that they've had in the last week or so.
Perhaps I think they need all the help they can get.
Yeah. So moving on to the next story.
This is a picture story. So
especially for our guest, this one.
Right. Okay. So this is a picture story. Flight Global is the website, and the headline is Australia's new PC-21 takes to the skies. Now, how do I pronounce that first word?
Pilates.
Pilates. Is it Pilates? No,
it's Pilates.
Right, sorry. I'm just going.
It'd be Pilates if there was a few of them.
The plural. I like
there
it.
we go.
Yes, yeah. So the Pilates is rapidly advancing with the development of the Australian Defence Force's new PC-21 trainer, announcing on the 21st of July that the first aircraft has carried out its maiden flight. The initial production test flight was carried out at the manufacturer Stans, is it? Or Staines? No, Stans. Stans production site in Switzerland, just days after aircraft A54-001 carried out its first ground engine run. So that should be Alpha, shouldn't it? Sorry. First ground run. And 7 months after a contract was signed for the acquisition. The $1.2 billion American dollar deal for 49 PC-29s was awarded to Lockheed Martin-led Team 21 consortium in December 2015. The fleet will replace the PC-9s that have been in service with the Royal Air Force since for the Royal Australian Air Force since 1988. And which are due to be retired in 2019. Having worked directly with the Australian Defence Force for many years, I am delighted to see that Pilatus continuing to deliver outstanding service. This is the Chief Executive, Marcus Butcher, says. The first flight of this aircraft marks a very significant chapter in the continuing relationship between the Commonwealth of Australia and Pilatus. We look forward to many, many more. So I'll just pop that picture up there. It's a very neat-looking aircraft. It looks like something that the Red Arrow to be honest.
Quite a few of the sort of the forces around the world uses as trainers. They're quite a good training aircraft.
Yeah.
And
quite
they
agile,
also display aircraft, very agile, very, very agile aircraft.
Yeah.
I'd love to get a chance to fly one of those. But,
or even be in one.
Or be in one, that'd be nice,
Absolutely.
So next story is on Flight Global again. The headline, Facebook tests solar-powered Aquila UAV.
Ooh.
So, online networking service Facebook is now an unmanned air vehicle operator.
Yes, indeed.
Having achieved first flight of the first full-scale solar-powered ultra-long endurance Aquila on the 28th of June in Yuma, Arizona. A video released on Facebook founder Mark Zuckerberg's wall on the 21st of July shows the 42-meter or 137 feet wingspan UAV lifting off at dawn from a runway on the Yuma Proving Ground, a major testing site for military and commercial drones. It follows months of testing on subscale designs. The Flying Wing Aquila, the Latin word for eagle, launched from a rolling cradle that was towed by a support utility vehicle, then flew up to 2,150 feet for 96 minutes, or 66 minutes longer than on the test card. Facebook said in a news release also that Facebook has not revealed how the aircraft landed or was recovered, but no landing gear were visible. That looks rather flimsy. It might just kind of break when it
break
lands.
Down on impact.
The flight comes nearly a year after Facebook revealed an already year-old drone development project underway in Yeovil in the UK. The social networking service had acquired a centre, a UK-based consultancy with former members of the Quintech Zephyr project and solar-powered UAV that demonstrated nearly a fortnight of continuous flight. I remember that one, the Quintech Zephyr.
Actually, this is not the first time that they've sort of slipped into the world of drones, actually, because I know, I think a story that was, it was either yesterday or overnight, because I was watching, I didn't sleep very well last night, I was watching news stories and that, and one of the things they were saying, actually, because his mission, if you like, is to make internet available to everyone across the world, like in undeveloped countries and things. And as I say, they've been using drones as ways of getting devices up in the air to beam internet signals, if you like, in rural areas where they can't get phone lines and things like that. And I mean, to be fair to it, for all his many faults, of which I know, because not everybody's a fan of Mark Zuckerberg on Facebook, but you have to give credit where credit's due. I mean, he's really pushing the boundaries and developing new technology to sort of do all sorts of really clever things.
So it's conceived, this particular UAV is conceived as a means, as you said, to deliver internet services in remote areas. Facebook envisions the constellation of Aquilas in flights lasting up to 90 days, rising to 90,000 feet.
Wow.
Hello, Poppy. The cat's just come in. The aircraft will communicate with each other and the ground using what Facebook claims a new breakthrough in laser communications, with the ability to beam data up to 10 gigabytes per second.
Yeah, which is a massive throughput. It's big.
At cruise altitude, the Aquila's 4 electric motors require 5,000 watts to keep the aircraft aloft, which Facebook compares to 3 hairdryers.
So it's really not very much power required at all, is it, to keep it up there? Honestly, it really is. It is worth following Mark Zuckerberg on Facebook for that very reason, because, as I say, some of the things that he's been doing are really quite groundbreaking. Really, I think so anyway.
So the last story for you, Matt, is one for those of you who like to do gaming on your tablets and mobile phones, especially for those guys in the States. You'll love this one.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is Military Embedded Systems is the website, and the headline is Blue Angel's flight simulator gaming app is available for the masses. Now, this sounds quite exciting. Gamers interested in aviation can download a new gaming app called Blue Angel's Aerobatic Sim, developed by Italian-based company Rotos. It is a simulation game that can be played on iOS or Android. Oh, that's good. That's good. They brought it to Android smartphones for the sole purpose of entertaining to fly a Blue Angel's jet and virtually clone the cool stunts we only see at their air show. So the company Rotos focuses on flight simulators for mobile devices. With the game officially released this week, gamers can replicate all official Blue Angels maneuvers. And in a release, Roberto Simon Eto, CEO of Rotos. I'm rubbish with names. I'm so sorry. Our goal was to create something new for fans of flight and the Blue Angels. By developing this flight sim, we challenged ourselves to enable players to become virtual pilots to perform their spectacular maneuvers of this well-respected and prestigious team. The release and the announcement came at the National Aviation Museum in Florida during a Blue Angel show. The game, Rotos officials say, that will now be available for Xbox and PC users in the future. That's quite cool. A couple of cool features give you the user the ability to place the game in airshow mode. Cool. To recreate and complete a real exhibition, but you can also place it in addictive mode. That's never a good sign. To create your own personal acrobatic figure. When playing the game, yes, I tried it out, the system actually shows you what the stunt will look like, and then with some practice or an innate ability to play video games, you can perform the same stunt.
So I've just gone on the Android App Store,
Yeah.
and if you can see, I don't know if you guys in the chat room can see.
There it is.
There you go. It's available on the Android App Store.
Very
there.
cool. Okay.
The Aerobatic Sim. It's had, according to this, it's had 5,000 downloads so far, and has an average score of 4.4, which is quite good.
Yeah, not bad
for,
at all.
for that.
And Ray Davis has just said, does it come with the background music of Dreams, which I think is the music they use when they're doing their routines, isn't it?
So get on the Android Store, download that app, and see what you think of the game. Let us know. It's had 255 star reviews,
right?
So
okay.
It's doing well, considering it's only been on the online for a few days. So that's cool. Right.
Okay.
So we are going to go to. We're going to have the interviews, I think, aren't we? One of the interviews that we took from the Royal International Air Tattoo a couple of weekends ago. So it's going to give everyone a chance to grab a cup of tea or coffee, and comfort break, as Matt likes to call them. And we're going to play those interviews for you.
We're going to play one. So
one interview.
The chap that we interviewed, in honour of our guest, obviously, was from the Royal Australian Air Force, and his name was Ben Lyons, and he's talking about the A330 tanker.
So you join me and Matt then at the Royal International Air Tattoo RAF Fairford in Gloucestershire. And we've been very kindly let on board it's the Airbus A330, but it's designated the KC-30. And I'm here with Ben Lyons. And Ben, what's your role here on the aircraft?
I'm one of the pilots.
You're one of the pilots. So you sit left or right seat?
I'm right seat at the moment, moving to the left in October this year.
Oh, wow. Oh, cool. So just tell us a bit about the role of the aircraft then. What's this aircraft do?
We are a dual-role aircraft. Long-range transport is one of them. As you can see around you, we've got the capacity for up to 270 passengers. And the other one is an air-to-air refuelling role. So we can use the boom system or the hose and drogue system, not at the same time, but we will use those two systems to provide fuel to other aircraft. And in some cases we can drag whole squadrons, so we can drag a couple of receiver aircraft and their maintenance crew, for example, so using both roles at the same time.
That's cool. I think when a lot of people see these aircraft from the outside as in a tanker role, they expect there not to be quite the interior that we're sitting in right now with all these seats. Is it something you carry a lot of personnel on board?
Yeah, we'll find pretty much half the time we're in our transport role. So the Australian Air Force is elected to have the full complement of seats because we do find ourselves doing that job reasonably regularly.
Oh, that's cool. So tell us about the air-to-air refuelling and just how, because we've obviously seen a lot of people in the videos and stuff on YouTube and out of the air-to-air refuelling, but just how difficult is that to refuel and to obviously fly in a formation as such?
Yeah, it's quite difficult. In the system that uses the hoses and the baskets, it's largely up to the skill of the receiver pilot to make that contact. In the case where we're using the boom, our onboard boom operator uses a fly-by-wire control system, and it's down to his skill pretty much to make the connection between the boom and the receiver. As a receiver pilot of a heavy aircraft like this, our job is pretty much to keep the aircraft still in position to allow the boom operator to do his job. We need to kick out all the automation systems in order to do that for the pilot. So the pilot is flying hands and feet and manual thrust. So keeping an aircraft this size in that position and getting it into that position is tricky, but I guess you get the hang of it.
Cool. So the aircraft itself, obviously, it's based on the Airbus A330, but you've obviously got some quite big sort of refueling booms and stuff on the aircraft. Does that affect the way the aircraft handles at all, within sort of drag or anything?
I don't think so. Having never flown an A330, I can't comment exactly, but no, we're pretty slick. Drag is actually, lack of drag often causes us a problem on approaches and so on. It's largely an A330. The external systems you mentioned, the pod and the boom, are additions, but aside from that, we have the same fuel tank fit out as the normal aircraft or the green aircraft, just a few more pumps and some extra plumbing.
So do you have a cargo capacity on board the aircraft for carrying freight and pieces?
Yeah, we do, and exactly like the green A330, it's under the floor. We can carry pallets, we can carry the civilian containers, which are called LD3s, and that's how we do it. We'll take your bags, check them in exactly the same way as an airline would, put them in those containers and chuck them under the floor. As you can see around you, you've also got the capacity to have carry-on luggage just like you would on a normal airliner.
Oh, that's cool. So the hop across here to Riyadh then for this show, was that sort of one hit, or did you stop on the way here? Or?
Interestingly, we were here on another mission, Bastille Day in Paris. There's an Australian contingent there, so we had about 170 passengers, I think it was, that needed to go there, and quite a lot of their equipment, which made us quite heavy. The result of that is we staged through Darwin and Dubai, and then landed, offloaded the passengers in Paris. Then we were looking for something to do for the week, so we thought we'd pop over to Riyadh.
So how are you enjoying the show so far then, Ben?
Yeah, it's great. I must admit I haven't been to an air show in a long time, so I don't have much to compare it to, but it's very noisy. You're not short of Eurofighters and F-16s, but I'm impressed with many of the displays I've seen, particularly the RAF Chinook display I thought was fantastic.
Cool. I know because some of our friends across in Australia, Steve and Grant over at the Plane Crazy Down Under podcast, they go to some pretty fantastic air shows. I mean, you guys do have some pretty good air shows over in Australia.
Yeah, I'd love to comment more on that. I'm aware of Avalon, and I have been to Avalon as a young boy. It was impressive at the time. I'm pretty sure there was a B1 there from memory, which I thought was amazing. But yeah, I haven't been to an air show in a long time until just today.
Oh, cool. So a bit about yourself then, Ben. How did things start for you? I mean, was it a kind of where I'm at the moment with the PPL, or did you just go straight into the forces?
I started out on gliders when I was 15, and I recommend that to anyone who wants to get involved in aviation as a cheap way to start. When I turned 16, I saved up a bit of money and got myself just to the solo level, but not a license of any sort, and then from there into the military. So all my training, except for that little bit at the start, has been military training.
Cool. So what aircraft have you flown in your career so far?
Yeah, quite a few. The Australian training aircraft includes the piston engine CT4 and the turbine engine PC9, which I believe is similar to the Tucano used here in the Royal Air Force. From there I flew the Hawk, another British aircraft, the Hawk 127. I flew the F-18 Hornet. I went back as an instructor on the PC9 and now the KC-30.
Oh, cool. So what are your future plans then, Ben? What have you got lined up for the future? Obviously, you're now going to progress to the left seat. Any other plans you've got at all while you're in the RAAF?
No, I don't actually. I'm not really sure what the future's going to hold after this tour. I'm fairly new on this aircraft, so this tour's got a fair bit left in it. I've had one deployment already, and with several more coming up. I get married at the end of the year, so...
congratulations.
Thank you very much. And the decisions that get made in a few years down the track, I can't quite see them just yet.
Oh, cool. So the question we sort of pre-asked you to kind of get you prepared as such for the question we were going to ask was if you could fly any aircraft that flies or has since finished flying in the world at all, what would your aircraft of choice or two aircraft of choice be, or however many?
Yeah, and when you pre-armed me with it, I said it was a hard question. It still is. Historically, I think it has to be the Spitfire, an amazing aircraft, and I know that you can kind of get into replicas and stuff these days, but I would a Spitfire or a P-51, that's sort of ilk. Something today, the A-10 I think is an amazing aircraft. I'm not sure how much longer they're going to have that around, so I'd love to have a drive of one of those. Yeah.
Oh, great. I think is there some Spitfires over your across the pond by your side? I think still flying.
You're stretching me. I'm not sure. There may be, but I'd say if you'd count them on one hand if there was.
Great. Well, Ben, thanks ever so much for your time on the show today. It's been great to talk to you, and obviously enjoy the rest of the show at RIAT 2016. And all the best for your future, Ben.
Thank you. Nice to meet you guys.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Find this and other great shows at the Aviation Media Network.
thevoicesinyourhead.com. The Plain Talking UK podcast is a voluntary project that aims to keep you informed with the latest aviation-related stories from newswires across the globe.
Producing our content does cost money though. If you enjoy our show, why not help us keep on the air by making a donation towards the server and website hosting fees through PayPal. Any contributions would be greatly appreciated.
Are you an Amazon user? If so, why not do your shopping through the link on our website? There's no cost to yourself, and Amazon pay us a small referral fee on qualifying purchases.
To find out more about the show and to meet the team, take yourself to our website www.plaintalkinguk.com,
or find us on Facebook at facebook.com/plaintalkinguk, on Twitter via @plaintalkinguk, or get in touch via email on podcast@plaintalkinguk.com. Thanks for listening.
Aviation media has long been the domain of the newspapers and magazines. Well, not anymore. I'm Steve Vischer.
And I'm Grant McCarran, and we're bringing aviation right into your radio.
Yes, we're making aviation cool and interesting for everyone.
Hang on, aviation's always been cool. Check this out. How cool is this?
Grant, turn that down. Here at Plane Crazy Down Under, we've got pilots, engineers, air traffic controllers, industry leaders, even politicians dropping by to talk to us about the amazing world of aviation right here in Australia and occasionally New Zealand as well.
Wow, that's cooler than I thought, mate.
Find us at planecrazydownunder.com, on iTunes, or lurking about on other people's podcasts just like this one.
We've got crazy accents and lots of great aviation content.
And we promise not to talk about the cricket.
No, never. Not the cricket. Quack, 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 quack. What is cricket anyhow?
Something we win a lot.
Oh!
And we're back.
Not so much anymore. Anyway, that's just because I'm nasty like
So
that.
I hope you enjoyed that first of the interviews we've done at RIAT this year, 2016. Because we've got a few more lined up for coming episodes.
Yeah. And some great content from Farnborough as well. I can't wait to start playing that out with you. Including, can I promo it?
Oh, go on.
Well, as everybody knows, I'm not the biggest expert when it comes to aviation. I mean, that is the
really?
running. Yeah, I know. A shock to everyone, I know. But we've Micah, the legend, the main man, Micah, the main man, and Pasadena Brian and I had a very wonderful afternoon. Saturday, wasn't it? Before we did the big APG
Yeah, they left
meeting.
me.
Left him in the media tent drinking coffee. And we did, basically, Micah and Brian took me to what they deem to be the aircraft I should be most excited about. So I'm really looking forward to playing some of those. Got some great content there, including, I've forgotten the name of it, but Micah's favourite aircraft.
Oh, the Catalina, the PBY Catalina.
And we were lucky enough to get a rare interview with one of the pilots, with the pilot from there. So some great content to come up. But
on a side note, from one of those jingles we played, the Plane Crazy Down Under podcast, Steve and Grant have in the last week released a new episode. It's kind of a collaboration of all the interviews they've done over the last few years, which they haven't published on the show yet, and they've kind of put all those together into a show, and they've released that on iTunes. So if you guys want to go over to iTunes and search for Plane Crazy Down Under, you can find the latest episode from them, which has got some really good interviews that they took at some of the air shows that they covered last year and this year.
Episode 127 they've released, apparently. Ray was just saying in the chat room, so
so go over and find that there.
Absolutely.
Well, I suppose
the time has come.
The time has come.
She's been very patient.
She's been very patient. Yeah,
absolutely. But it is time, I'm delighted to say, to welcome. Oh, hello! She's on the move.
She's on the move. Kathy's on the move.
She's going back into the outside fresh air.
She's
that is a stunning view out there. It really is. I'm glad we're popping outside. Actually, it's a stunning cottage. Actually, it's got a real British feel about it. But it's time to welcome back our special guest, the lovely Kathy Mexted.
Hello, yes, I am.
Yeah.
Hey.
I just had to go and charge up again.
No, I know. Yes, I'm sorry. We do run on a bit, don't we?
We do. Yeah, we do run on a bit. Again, welcome onto the show, Kathy, and thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
On your lovely holiday there in Wales.
It's beautiful, isn't it? We're staying at the Stone Barn.
Yeah.
And it's
look at that
on Homeowners Direct.
Yeah.
It's owned by the lovely Rhiannon and Andrew.
Fantastic.
And it was just finished about 3 months ago.
Look at the brick. Look at the brickwork. It really is.
I just googled accommodation Abergavenny, and it comes up.
And
it
is stunning. Yeah.
It's where my grandfather emigrated from. My grandparents emigrated to Australia in the 1920s from Abergavenny.
Wow.
So that's why we came here.
Full circle.
A real sort of homecoming almost, sort of back to your roots, as it were.
Well, that's what I thought. And I was Googling, I was looking for accommodation actually in Oxford, so it's close to Heathrow for Dennis.
Yeah.
And it was quite difficult at that late stage to get anything for any length of time.
Yeah.
And in frustration, I just said, I'm going back to the mother country.
Yeah, going back to Wales, yes.
He said, where's that?
Yeah.
Abergavenny. I grew up with all these stories of Abergavenny.
Yeah.
So I had lunch yesterday, or afternoon tea, with a relative, distant relative, my mother's cousin. And he said, oh, yeah, your grandfather, my grandfather's father was actually Irish.
Oh, wow.
Well...
Yeah, so you could have been looking in Ireland as well then.
I could have been in Cork. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Ireland is also worth a visit. I have to say, I've got family that live in Ireland.
We do have some nice parts of the
the United Kingdom, whilst it's still that, is a wonderful place. Before all these Brexits and Scotland and everyone all start breaking away from England.
So, Kathy, we're going to start then. So we'll start off with how things began with you, really, because you kind of started at a fairly early age, didn't you, with your aspirations of flight?
Yeah. So I grew up in Finley, which is a small town of 2,000, about 3 or 4 hours drive north of Melbourne, and it's exactly the opposite of Wales. When we got here, my husband said, what the hell did your grandparents leave this beautiful country and go to Finley, which is as flat as the table that this laptop's sitting on.
There's nothing wrong with that. Hey, East Anglia is like that. It's fine.
But anyway, so I grew up there in a farming community, and my dad learnt to fly when I was about 10. And so I used to go flying with him in the Archer, Piper Archer. And he just said to me one day, "Oh, you look like you're enjoying that, and you seem to have the hang of it, the straight and level." And he said, "If you want to learn to fly, I'll pay for it." And I said, "Dad, I'm only 16 and I've only just learnt to crash the ute. I don't think I should be flying an aeroplane." So anyway, I grew up and then I had to pay for it myself. So I was about 28 when I came back to it. So I'd been backpacking around the world, and in Alaska I went for a helicopter ride, and I was in the bar afterwards with a couple of the pilots and some other friends, and holding court with an Alaskan ale and regaling them with this tale of how I intended to learn to fly when I got home. And this chopper pilot looked at me because, you know, I now know that pilots get that all the time. You know, I've always wanted to fly, I'm going to do it one day, or whatever. People get very excited about it. And he just looked at me across the bar and he goes, "I bet you don't." So I photocopied my licence and pasted it onto a Christmas card and wrote, "Told you I would," sent it back a couple of years later.
I like it, yes. Very good.
So you obviously, with the aircraft you fly, I mean, in the UK here, Kathy, you probably know I'm learning to fly here in the UK, the PPL, but I only fly the Cessna 150 and the 172. Have you had a chance to fly sort of many different kind of sport, you know, general aviation aircraft?
I learnt in the 150 and then went across to the Archer, which is what Dad had. Then I got married and we had the Bonanza, and then now we fly the Piper Cub, which is a tail dragger, which we have at home on our farm.
Wow! So you have to have a different endorsement on your license for the tail dragger aircraft, Kathy.
Yeah, it's a whole different world.
Yeah.
There is. Have you seen those little memes on Facebook? There's one with the girl with her head in her hands and the husband or the boyfriend putting on his trousers, and she says, "He's a nose wheel pilot. I think we both should start seeing other men."
I like it, yes.
Not that I care.
No.
I don't have any ego when it comes to flying. I couldn't care less what you fly or what you do.
No, so you've got no favourites then, Kathy, of the ones that you've sort of flown, the Cessnas and the Cubs and stuff. Is there any sort of one that you prefer given the choice to fly?
The one I prefer is the one I'm comfortable in at the time, and because I'm a private pilot and I don't fly that much, I think it's all about getting comfortable and being confident and competent in the one that you're flying. So my husband said once, my wife's the only person I know with a pilot's license who still calls them by their colour. Because we go to the air shows and, you know, it's great watching what happens, but I don't care. I don't get that concerned about it. I'm more interested in human stories. So when I do write aviation stories, I generally will write more about, you know, what you're getting out of it or how it makes you feel or why you're doing it, what the human story is behind it. And when I started writing for Australian Pilot magazine, the editor then, Brian Bigg, he said, get as many photos of aeroplanes as you can, but make sure you've always got a person in the photo.
Oh, right, okay, yeah. So, did you say to give it, I suppose you can
give
then...
it a human factor.
Yeah, give it a human element to it, so you can just pin it to a person rather than just the inanimate object, essentially.
Yeah. And I think, too, being a woman in the aviation scene is a bit of an anomaly because, you know, when I learnt to fly, there was only 2% of women were pilots in Australia. Yeah. I think now it's crept up to about 5% because the airlines and the Air Force have sort of bumped up their intakes of women more.
Good.
But it's still a bloke's world. Yeah. And so as a writer, I guess there's myself and Cretia Ballantyne and Shelley Ross. The three of us, as far as I know, were the only ones sort of writing general aviation stories in Australia. And we all kind of bring a different voice and a different perspective to the way a man will write. And if the man happens to be an engineer or a maths science type guy, they leave out all the verbs. They talk in stilted, like they just give you the highlights. It's like a telegram, reading a story written by a bloke. Usually, sometimes.
So in your past, then, Kathy, you were saying you've lived on an island and flown a 172. Tell us a bit more about that.
Okay, so that's a love story. This is a men's show, isn't it? They don't care.
Hey, no. We probably have as many ladies listen to this as we do guys.
Oh, do you?
Oh no. It's, our chat room is always filled. It's quite often the ladies that outnumber the men in the chat room. So don't you worry about that.
Okay. So I was doing my pilot's license, and I was about to go back to Canberra to another job I had, and my boyfriend said, or this guy, who's now my husband, said, "Come and marry me, and we'll live on an island. Come, right. I want to take you out to this island and show you where we're going to live." And he was already working out there.
It sounds like you were being kidnapped. It doesn't sound as romantic as all that.
He's about 8 years younger than me, so it was. I was a bit more cautious than he was.
Yeah. But
he was pretty hell bent on making that happen. So we flew out there in a Warrior from Coffs Harbour over to Lord Howe, and if you Google images for Lord Howe Island, it's just like a paradise to fly into. And it's just this little dot out in the ocean on the way from Sydney to New Zealand. So one blink and you miss it, and then you're in a world of hurt. I wrote a story about it and said, talked about how grateful I was to see this tiny island emerge from the hazy horizon.
Yeah.
Thank God we're there.
There is actually somewhere to... he hasn't made it up. You are actually going to land somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah, well, the island's only a mile wide where the airport is. And so the airstrip goes from one beach across to the road at the other beach. So it was the only flat bit on the island. So, yeah, and then actually I think I wrote how I was pondering this new relationship and am I doing the right thing? And if I looked to the sky for an answer, I wasn't going to get it because there were 3 windsocks and they were all pointing different directions at the airport.
Yes. Crosswind, anyone? Yes.
Yeah, because there's 2 3,000-foot mountains just there.
Wow. I mean, that must make landing in its own right quite tricky, actually, with sort of like high terrain and things.
No, because it's just little. You just go round the mountain.
Oh, right. You just go round and come again, yes.
Because the mountain comes down to the ocean. So
but what a way to see it, though, from the sky.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. My girlfriend came out to visit from Coffs Harbour, and we climbed Mount Gower, which is probably, it's one of those things, it's beautiful when you've done it. But we got to 2,000 feet. I said, I just spent 10 grand learning to fly at this altitude. Why am I doing this on foot?
Yeah, absolutely.
I thought I was going to die that day.
And then I got
home and was almost dead, and Dennis proposed.
Aww.
And I thought, surely not.
Oh, that's so cool. I love it.
Got my defences were down. But I think he thought, there's a girl that can climb mountains.
So it's you've got actually in the family, Kathy. You've got quite a few people who are in aviation, haven't you? It's not just yourself who's obviously your husband is obviously a pilot, but you have got other members of the family as well who have kind of got the aviation bug. Yeah,
that happens, doesn't it? I guess in Australia, it's not that uncommon to learn to fly. It's not as expensive as here. I think you have to sell your house, don't you, over here?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Certainly remortgage anyway.
Yeah. So Dad learnt just off his own bat, and it was in the 70s when general aviation in the 60s and 70s had a bit of an explosion in Australia because they lifted the ban on English aeroplanes, so we were able to get the Pipers and Cessnas from the US. Right. And suddenly every boy who ever wanted to learn to fly had access to it. And airstrips popped up all over the place, flying, aero clubs and whatnot. So Dad joined with a group of about 5 or 6 other guys in our town, and they had shares in the aeroplane. And so there was quite a bit of flying within that group. And then aerial agriculture came to town in the 70s because we grow rice. We're a rice growing area. And so they came to do the spraying and sowing of the aerial application of the rice. And then my sister, I sent her a book about Beryl Markham, who was an Australian, Kenyan woman who flew in the 30s. Have you heard of her, Beryl Markham?
No, I haven't. No.
she wrote a book called West with the Night. You have to get it, it's brilliant.
Yeah.
And she grew up in Kenya, and she was the first woman or person, I'm not sure, to fly from the UK to America, going against the wind.
Yeah.
So she went the opposite to Lindbergh. And anyway, I sent it to my sister who'd lived in Kenya, and I'd visited her there, and I said, if you can put up with the flying bits, because flying's my thing, I think you'll enjoy the African bits. And she rang me, and she said, I want to learn to fly, based on reading this book. So she went and got a licence. One of my brothers did gliding, because there was a very big gliding complex near us at Tokamo, which is an old World War II aerodrome, which is still there. And so that's how my husband and I came to know each other better, was through being at the airport. Yeah, my husband's father was a local ag operator. My husband and his brother both became airline pilots. One of their sisters did gliding. And then Dennis and I have a son who's just joined the Air Force about 3 years ago.
Wow. I mean, all jokes aside, though, I mean, because it is such... I mean, we here in the UK just cannot simply appreciate the sheer vastness of the American...
Oh, yeah.
Of the Australian sort of landscape, if you like. And, I mean, really, if you didn't fly any, it would take you forever to get anywhere, wouldn't it? I mean, this is the thing. I mean, it's a lovely country, and I've got family that live in sort of Queensland and things like that, but it's just so big, isn't it? If you weren't flying, you just couldn't... You just, you know... It's such a you'd be in such a small area all the time.
Well, it's the same. Same if I visit my cousin, you know, who lives in Australia now. You know, it's not just a case of getting on a plane here and flying to hers to an airport. You have to fly to somewhere. I forget where it is now. Then you have to get another internal flight to another internal flight, and then drive somewhere. But I have to say that the scenery, like what you can see, and like the views that you can have when you're flying in Australia, must be absolutely fantastic, Kathy.
Well, we have so many different types of terrain and scenery. So we've got from snow to the vast interior, outback. And, there's a lot to see.
So a bit about the work you do, Kathy, because you're a massively busy person. Apart from obviously helping Stephen Grant.
Some might dispute that.
But apart from obviously helping Stephen Grant out every now and again on the PCDU, you do the you work on some illustrations, some magazines as well, and the Air Sport magazine. Tell us a bit about your work you do with Air Sport magazine. So your work with the SAAA then, the Sports Aircraft Association of Australia then, Kathy.
So I'm editing Air Sport, which is their magazine, and the SAAA are a group of home builders, which started out with experimental aircraft, and well, they still do experimental aircraft. So they're the guys that are tinkering away in their sheds at home. And I love that sometimes they'll bring the airplane out of the suburban garage onto the driveway to do an engine run-up or something. And the neighbours don't, the neighbours all come out.
And think, oh, hello, what's this? Yeah, absolutely.
Like the mad professor, what's going on in there? You don't know in the suburbs what's happening next door.
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah. So I just pull the stories together, and sometimes I rewrite them, and always I'll sub-edit them and then beg for photos and put the magazine together. So it comes out 4 times a year. And I love the fact that I love the passion and the enthusiasm. I hate that word passion, but I never use it in my writing, but it's hard to find another word that can match that.
I mean, I think passion is a great word. It's one of those words that is overly used, isn't it, in the English language? Yeah,
like
absolutely. Amazing.
Amazingly passionate.
And then, but there's the trouble, isn't it? When you do genuinely get someone who has a real passion for as you describe, and you feel almost bad using that word because you feel like you're cheapening their love of said aircraft and the project that they're working on.
Yeah. We have a project at home long before I was involved with the magazine, and when I was approached to take on this role, I said, I think we're a member of that organisation. I think because we've got this thing up at the back of the hangar, this pile of sticks, that's meant to be an aerobatic, single-seat aerobatic, one-design aeroplane. And so I appreciate the time and effort that goes into taking on a project like that.
I bet.
And actually, the next issue, I've just finished, or just on deadline now, putting together the spring issue. And this guy wrote me a story, and it said, this is VH, ABC, whatever the rego was. And then he gave the full title of what the aeroplane was. And he said, it was built by me. And then he gave me his whole 4 names. And I thought, there's an enormous amount of pride in that first sentence, that story that he's written.
Yeah.
And in the photo, he's sitting there like this.
Yeah, really proud of his achievement. Yeah. Well, and why wouldn't
and
you
I
be?
love that. I love that.
Yeah, as you say, because it is people with a real love of it, isn't it? And that, these are people that have dedicated, time and resources into building these things. I mean, you are. If you do actually reach the end and you finish the project, you'd just be so proud, wouldn't you?
Yeah, and that nervous first flight.
Yes. For so many reasons, because you think, I put this thing together.
Have I used enough sellotape and blue tacks and glue?
I did a story on a guy called Brian Corbett, who is, he's everything, and he lives down the Yarra Valley, the Latrobe Valley, down in eastern Victoria. And he gave me this great quote. He said, flying an aeroplane that you've made for the first time certainly focuses your attention. That first flight of your airplane.
Yeah, I bet.
I doubt whether you'd go very far, would you?
Well, no, indeed.
Flight, you'd literally take off, to the end of the runway, land,
and crash
straight away.
Absolutely, absolutely, yeah. Oh dear.
So the other, obviously, Air Sport magazine you write for. You've also done a little bit. You were talking about before with me yesterday about Avplan, which is kind of an EFB, like electronic flight bag. Yeah.
So on the website you'll see some, or on the YouTube channel, you'll see some of my photography and little films. I did one on. I went out to Ayers Rock. You haven't been to Australia, have you?
No.
Need to.
It's on the list.
Mum has.
Well, it's been on my list since I was about 21. I got to Alice Springs and said, I'll come back. So it took a long time to get back, but I got there last year with my brother. And we went for a helicopter flight around Ayers Rock, and it's just the most stunning place. So there's a little YouTube film about flying around Ayers Rock, and there's special procedures for flying around the rock. There's a flight path that you have to follow. You can't just go and fly around it.
I was going to say, because you'd think that because of Australia being such a vast place, you'd think you could just kind of take off and go wherever you like, really, because it's such a vast...
Well, you can, except at Ayers Rock. So, I did one from the Women Pilots Association conference in May, and this a neat little short one with Paul Bennett's air show and Chris Faroo at the Tyab Air Show in April, I don't know, Easter, whenever that was, with Stephen Grant.
So Myla in the chat room has just asked a question earlier, Kathy. Do you still fly the PA-28?
The Piper Cub?
Yeah.
No, that's PA-18, isn't it?
Oh, the PA... let me just go back up to the question.
28, I think is the Archer.
Yeah.
No, we don't, but one night, I don't know, we're lying in bed and I was staring at the ceiling thinking, I don't think I'm ever going to get the hang of this tail wheel. And my husband in desperation said, what about if I just go and buy back your father's aeroplane? And I said, yeah, let's just do that.
Really?
It's Mike Alpha uniform, and apparently it's in South Australia. And I went, after the Women Pilots Conference, we were flying out of a small airport in South Australia, and I heard somebody give a radio call. Mike Alpha uniform is downwind. So they were on the same frequency somewhere. It was lovely.
Oh, wow.
Because we love our aeroplanes.
Yeah.
Men, look at them like long-lost girlfriends.
Yeah. I think it's safe to say that the gentleman in the studio just opposite me has a similar problem to that nature. He gets a little bit excited if he sees an aeroplane. I'm going to ask a slightly unusual question here that's come from Nev in the chat room. It says, Kathy, have you by any chance, as you're in Wales, seen Captain Owl running around the mountains with eating chicken nuggets, just out of interest?
I don't know what that means.
No. It's a running joke. We were involved in the Airline Pilot Guys' big live show show
weekend,
last weekend, and there was a competition between him and the lovely Dr. Steph, who looks like she's never eaten a chicken nugget in her entire life. And there was a contest between both Captain Al and Dr. Steph, and Dr. Steph won. I'm very proud to say. So absolutely, yeah. So that was a reference there. Anyone who obviously has watched the Farnborough APG show will know exactly what we're on about. But
Okay.
So Ray Davis has said in the chat room, Kathy, that he's heard that once you fly a tail dragger, you can fly anything.
Oh, brilliant.
So
I'll take the 787 home then.
yeah,
In the world.
yeah. I'll tell you what, you could stick hubby in the back of the flight home. That you could be up for your front seat.
Oh,
So have
actually, when I flew into Narromine, Grant, Narromine Air Show was the SAAA's annual event, fly in, and they had an air show there. And last year I flew in with my husband. He was asleep in the back until we got to the circuit area. And we were coming in on whatever the runway was, and the wind swung around, and it was really strong. And I sort of had to come in like this, you know. And Grant said to me, "What were you doing out there with it landing?" I said, "Well, the wind changed."
Yeah.
But the trouble is at a place like that, you've got everybody who's anybody lined up against the Aero Club wall like this.
Yeah.
What the hell?
Marking your
Holding up
arrival.
this-
Yeah, absolutely. Oh dear.
I just saw a cat climb a tree behind you,
Oh,
Kathy.
At least he's
one
not
that's
being
been licking my
attacked. Yeah.
toes.
one has been licking your feet. Yeah. So let's look. I've got the notes and just dropped the notes in front of me here.
God, you like giving me lots of editing, don't you?
I know. I like
honestly?
giving you lots of editing to do. I know. One of the questions, Kathy, that we tend to ask a lot of the people we interview at the air shows and stuff, the pilots and stuff, is if you're given the chance to fly any aircraft in the world, either retired or still flying, I mean anything, any aircraft at all, given the chance to sit, on the flight deck and fly, what would be your sort of dream aircraft to fly?
One that's going to bring me down safely, I think.
Right.
Okay.
No, when I was a kid, I always wanted to be a helicopter pilot.
Really?
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
So
Anyone in particular in mind, or
any helicopter?
Yeah.
Any helicopter.
anything? Just anything. Yeah.
Anything helicoptery.
Yeah.
The great thing about starting off as a writer, so I've only been doing this about 10 years, is the opportunities that you get from it. And so through Plane Crazy Down Under, I went in with the Navy one day from Sydney, 500 feet down the coast to Narra. It was about an hour's flight, I think, 45 minutes in the MR-90, is that what they are? The helicopter.
Yeah,
doors
that's
open
like.
and
Yeah, I know.
felt like a war correspondent going off with my helmet and the camera. Yeah, it was beautiful. I wondered where a kid from an inland town would get that idea, and it came from Skippy. Have you ever heard of Skippy? Skippy the bush kangaroo.
The bush kangaroo.
I can say what
And
my friend
pretty much
Adrian.
there was a guy in that had a helicopter. There was a helicopter pilot, Jerry.
Yeah.
And that's what it was, and I just was fascinated with it. So I've always seized the opportunity to go in a helicopter.
Cool.
That's the first time I think we've ever had any, because most of the pilots in that we speak to kind of come up with the
like Concorde,
the Spitfire, the Mustang, and
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
I go wherever I'm invited.
Well,
it's always nice to have someone who wants to fly a helicopter.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah. I can
yeah.
think of a few people at your flying club that would be very excited to hear that.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Jim would love that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
Right, I'll be over. Where does he live?
yeah, absolutely.
in this obscure part of the UK where we are.
Yeah, East Anglia.
Kathy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right on
East
the Norfolk
Anglia.
Southern border.
Yeah, miles away.
Yeah.
So what have you got rounding sort of things up, Kathy? What kind of plans you got for the future then, with in regards to kind of, you're going to keep doing the editing stuff with the Air Sport magazine and all the other bits of illustration stuff you do in photography?
Yeah, just plug on. I've still got two daughters who are, one's just started high school and one's at the end of primary school. So I've got another 10 years of that to do, which, being married to an airline pilot, he's away a lot, so I can't kind of just take a job in the city and trek off 5 days a week.
Well, and I suppose the advantage about doing sort of writing and that in the fact that predominantly a lot of your work can actually be done at home, and then
from Wales,
or from Wales. In fact, yes, absolutely, you can be literally anywhere in the world and still get on with the work as long as you've got, well, in this case, a decent internet connection and that sort of thing. So I mean, that must be quite nice to be able to sort of still at least work, but sort of be able to.
It's a dream job. It's a job you can enjoy.
Yeah.
Writing about aviation.
I think you've got to be disciplined though, and obviously Kathy's got the discipline, if you like, to be able to do the editing and stuff. Because I mean, I have to confess, I would find it very. I could very easily slip into bad habits about not being dedicated, in getting the work done. I mean, that must be quite difficult when you are sort of essentially in charge of the family home, obviously with hubby being away a lot. I mean, that must be quite difficult sometimes to find the motivation if you've had a hard day.
Yeah. The cat's back.
Oh, goody.
If only I had shoes on, it wouldn't be so bad.
Where would the fun be in that?
Sometimes, like, I can remember one embarrassing day. I sat down at 7:30 in the morning to write something, and at 5 o'clock, I still hadn't written it.
Wow.
And I've been sitting at that desk all day, and every writer will tell you, it's very easy to get on Facebook, to go and pay your bills, to email your mother, all that stuff, especially with photos. Yeah. Because as a photographer, I go, I'll just have a look at these photos. I'll just upload them to. But I've been trying to get a book published, and we've had a lady living with us on and off for a few years, and so she took a lot of the workload from me domestically, which allowed me time to just sit in the office and get through what I was trying to get through.
What was the name of the book?
I never got the book published. And so at the moment we're just seeking a publisher meeting regarding the latest idea. There's been a few incarnations of the book, but it's an aviation book, Australian aviation book.
I have to keep our eyes open.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Well, do keep us posted.
I'll be on the blower as soon as I've got a contract.
Excellent. Good. That's what we like to hear.
Yeah. So, true stories.
So, what we would like you to do, as I say, we're now sort of wrapping up then. Give yourself a little plug. Where would we find it? No, it's all right. We're not going to make you sing. Don't worry.
No, that was last weekend.
If people want to look you up, where would they go?
I've got a website.
You have indeed.
kathymexted.com.au.
There we go. Yes, and I'll just pop that up on the screen
for
everyone
pop that up. There we go.
To see now. Yeah, so it's www.kathymexted.com.au. I've been having a little peruse through that. As I say, you've got some really quite notable works actually for people that you've written for. That must be quite pleasing.
It's always pleasing to get a paycheck.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Yeah, of course, absolutely.
That's the main thing.
Yeah, so as I say, writes for all sorts of people, writes for Outback magazine as well as Sports Aircraft Association.
I love that bit. I love that site with the Vans RV7 on there. That's another one of those aircraft I'd love to get the chance to go in.
What is it?
The Vans. It's kind of a little sports.
Oh, they're beautiful.
Yeah. It's such a stunning aircraft. I've seen those flying. But yeah, it's good. It's good. I like that.
There's also I've got a Kathy Mexted Writing and Photography Facebook page.
Okay.
And I probably interact on that more than anything. And the SAAA and AvPlan both have Facebook pages as well.
Cool. Okay, fantastic.
Excellent. Any kind of news about Steve and Grant? Are you going to appear with those guys?
Dish the dirt.
There's a coup. Michael Lee and I are taking over.
Excellent. Yay. Okay, I like it. Yes. Sounds good to me.
What's news? Well, Steve's building a house.
Yeah.
And Grant's got a new job, and I think they just suddenly got very busy, and that's why everything slowed down for them.
Yeah.
So I think it just all got. There has to be a work-life balance.
Yeah, of course there does.
It takes an enormous amount of work to put these shows together.
Yeah.
And Steve was. I probably know Steve or talked to Steve more than Grant, and I know that he just was getting very overwhelmed by the amount of work. Yeah. And then his work, his real work, his paying work.
Yeah, absolutely, really busy.
Up.
Yeah.
And then they've built a house. So the house is half built.
I must say from people from here. I mean, it's obviously. I mean, their podcast is great, isn't it? I mean, it's a really.
They
good
get into some really, really good gigs. Those
they
guys
do,
when
yeah.
they do the
Yeah.
air shows and stuff.
Yeah.
They even host air shows.
Yeah, they do. Which is very cool.
Which is really. I'd love to. Have
one of these days when we win the lottery, Carlos, we shall be heading over there to go and join in. But well, listen, Kathy, thank you very much for your time. It's as I say, it's early morning for you, but of course, no, it's quite civilised here in the lovely part of Wales.
Oh, before we close up, Kathy, have you got any ideas about perhaps moving or going down to a flying school near yourself there and having a little flit around in a 150 while you're in the UK?
In Wales, the UK?
Yeah.
I'd love to go for a fly, actually. I just said to Dennis the other day when we were walking through the forest, because I whinge when I'm walking because it's hard work. And I said, I'd really love to go for a fly around here, but no, I haven't. We're leaving here on Sunday and then going to Oxford for a week, and then I'll be in Kensington in London for 2 weeks, and then we'll be up in Glasgow for 2 weeks.
Wow.
So if anybody's on that track...
Yeah. I tell you what, when you go to Scotland, it's a little bit of a drive, but if you get the chance, can I recommend you visiting a lovely little village called Kenmore? It's as I say, it's sort of between Glasgow and Aberdeen, so it's sort of a little bit further up. But the village of Kenmore is absolutely stunning. One of my friends has a holiday cottage there, and I spent Easter there. It was just truly stunning, looking over the Loch Tay. It's just amazing. Very similar terrain to what you've got actually behind you there, Kathy.
Yeah, I'll have to have a look. Is there much flying activity in Scotland?
There's a lot of general aviation stuff in Scotland. There's a few good flying schools up there.
Again, Scotland is so vast. I mean, it's one of those things where you have to sort of go. You have to fly, otherwise it takes you forever to get anywhere. But
down those hills.
Yeah, absolutely. So anyway, yes, if you want to, as I say, if you want to get in touch with Kathy, the website that you want to go to have a jolly good old look round is www.kathymexted.com.au. That's Kathy spelt with a K, by the way. If you want to get in touch with our show, it is www.planetalkinguk.com. It's facebook.com/planetalkinguk. Our Twitter handle is @planetalkinguk. If you want to watch either this show live or any shows that we put up afterwards, you can watch the visual version of our show, and that is youtube.com/planetalkinguk. And don't forget, of course, the podcast, but then you're already listening to it, so why am I having to plug it? It's available on iTunes, Stitcher, Podcast Addict, all sorts of any decent podcast outlet, it is there. But anyway, Carlos has got a mention of a little meet.
Yes, I have got some very important, some VIP information for you guys and girls. Well, everywhere really, if you can make it. I got an email today from Masha, who was at the APG meetup on Saturday. We met Masha there, and she sent us an email about a meetup that's happening. And the email reads, "Hi Carlos and Matt, could you be super kind?" Which we are. We're always kind,
absolutely,
on the show.
For a lot of listeners.
And I mentioned on the show that Mila and Shud and Nev and Masha are having an informal APG PTUK AvGeek meetup at the Schiphol observation deck on Sunday the 7th of August. They'd love anyone who's in that particular area on the 7th of August to meet up and join them on the observation deck. And hopefully, I mean, if Nev's going to be there, they might be able to join us via Skype or something, or do some sort of thing that day. But so for anyone who's in the area of the
when's that? Is that this Sunday coming?
That's on the 7th of August. So that's
7th of August. Cool.
Is that next weekend? Is it next weekend? Yeah,
like
next Sunday.
Cool.
At the Schiphol observation deck. Join Stuart, Nev, and Mila there, and Masha. and they're going to have an informal meet-up. So that's
I need
quite
to
cool.
talk to Nev. I think we should try and link up.
We should do. Yeah,
I think so,
perhaps
we'll
do
talk to the legend that is Nev.
Perhaps we'll do a Sunday show that next week and kind of have and try something like that. But
anyway, so hopefully more details to come about that. But so if you are available on the 7th of August, then make sure you're in the Schiphol area.
I might have a little look on the Sky Scanner and see if I can find a cheap flight for a fiver. If I can find flights for about 10 or 20 quid,
we're there.
We'll come over.
Absolutely.
Obviously, if they're 420 quid,
no, indeed,
that might not be quite good.
Indeed. Anyway, on that, we need to let our lovely guest
we're going
to
have
her holiday, her well-deserved
holiday.
holiday.
Thank you ever so much, Kathy, for joining us on the show today. You've been an absolute star.
Yeah,
you have. So thanks a lot for that.
A star.
Yes. He's charming, isn't he? Yeah,
I know.
I know.
What a great guy.
Yeah. That bit's all lies.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
No, absolutely.
It's been lovely to have you on the show, Kathy, and all the best for your future flying activities, and obviously enjoy the rest of your stay here
in the UK.
Here in the UK,
yeah, absolutely.
Yep. Thanks very much.
So, from all of us here, it is time to bring episode number 122 to a close.
Oh, a special thanks to everyone in the chat room. We better not forget those guys.
Yes, absolutely.
Thanks to everyone in the chat room for joining us this morning.
Do you want to whiz through the list very quickly?
I'll try. We've got Neville in there, Paul Tricker, Myla, Mash is in there.
Yeah.
Ray Davis, York Mola's been in the chat room. Main man Micah, obviously.
The main man,
scrolling down, someone called Matt Smith's been in there. I don't know who he is. Some random person called Matt Smith. I don't think I've missed anyone out. Masha, Ray Davis, Micah.
There was some lovely lady from Wales.
Some lovely lady from Wales. Yeah. Farm with no name. We'll say hello to her. And,
we can never come up with a name for the farm, so that's what I've called it.
Farm with no name.
Farm with no name.
Perfect answer. Absolutely.
So thank you to everyone who joined us in the chat room today for the live show.
So apologies if we missed anyone out.
And Martin Holmes as well. Hello to you,
Jacob,
Martin Holmes.
Jacob Darlington.
And Jacob Darlington Brown, and Nelson popped back in as well.
Excellent.
So hello to you as well, Nelson.
But anyway, from all of us here in the kitchen studio.
It is
it's quite nice to be back in the kitchen studio.
Back in the kitchen studio, yeah. I'm missing the air shows though. We need to go for another one soon.
Do we? Right. Yeah. Okay. Well, it's Buckingham, I think, next weekend.
Is it next week?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, sorry. So we ought to do some more air shows anyway. But from all of us here in the studio and from the lovely, say goodbye, Kathy.
Goodbye, everybody.
Excellent. And from us here in the studio, it is goodbye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.